On CNN yesterday, it was discussed as to the possibility, apparently Donald Trump's friend Chris Ruddy. Who is Chris Ruddy?
Is he Newsmax?
I think so. Or is he he's not the National Enquirer guy, is he?
I think he's
Newsmax. So Chris Ruddy has been assigned the task of floating this trial balloon, which is that Trump is considering firing Mueller. Now, understand, Trump cannot fire Mueller. Only the acting attorney general who is the acting attorney general basically in the silo of the Russian investigation, Rod Rosenstein, can fire Mueller. So what we're seeing is pressure being exerted on Rod Rosenstein from outside to convince him to sign off on signing Mueller after he gets the request from the president. My guess is that Rod Rosenstein has already said to the president, like, I can't do that. But here is on CNN with Erin Burnett, April Ryan, John Avlon, and I don't know who that third dude is, but he doesn't talk very much, talking about terminating Mueller.
I think he's considering perhaps terminating the special counsel. I think he's weighing that option. I think it's pretty clear by what one of his lawyers said on television recently. I personally think it would be a very significant mistake.
Is there any way he would actually do it, April?
Well, let me give you a little bit of insight from inside the West Wing right now. One of my sources reached out to me just before we went on air, and they said there's mass hysteria in the West Wing about this. We don't know if it's going to happen or if it won't happen, but what we do know, if indeed the president does fire Mueller, it shows that he's impeding the process yet again. Some would even say it's obstruction of justice again. This process has to play out because of what he did with Comey, and also calling for the investigation. And there's a lot of smoke, and there's a lot of alarm bells going off. Now the question is, where's the fire? Republicans and Democrats alike are calling for this investigation, for the process to continue, and for this president, if he does decide to do that, it would be a big problem for him politically.
I think
just to hammer home April's point, the fact that Chris Ruddy said that today on top of a lot of the talking heads spinning for the president is truly troubling. It would be a dark day for democracy if this was done, and yet there's no rational reason to think that the president wouldn't do it. He fired the FBI director. You didn't think that Bill Clinton wanted to do that when Louis Freeh was taking a look at him, and obviously Ken Starr was an independent counsel, so he didn't have that possibility. But you don't do it because even if you're in trouble self-inflicted, you have a sense of respect for the process. And we haven't seen that from this president.
Right.
And so this is a dangerous thing to be trial ballooning right now, and it's happening, folks.
All right.
Yeah, and I think, Avlon is right. There is absolutely no cost. Well, let me put it this way. There's no reason to think that Trump wouldn't do this because there is no cost. The Republicans will not impeach Donald Trump. Period. End of story. Rod Rosenstein may say, if Rod Rosenstein signed off on it, it would happen immediately. I think probably he's the only thing that's keeping it from happening already. But who knows? Down the road, you could fire Jeff Sessions. You could bring in another attorney general who would then be responsible for Mueller, and then he could fire them. And I do mean he.
Yeah, you got that right.
People have to start to realize that the value of these Russia investigations in terms of the governance of the country, obviously there's a reason why you do this because you need to investigate these things. But in terms of the governance of the country, the value is only as much as it keeps Trump and the Republicans from exercising their agenda. I'm talking purely the political value. Obviously, there's at least enough reason to believe that a crime has been committed that you investigate it. But the value from a political perspective is that it keeps the Trump administration from executing their agenda. right now in the Senate, they're going to pass some type of healthcare legislation. The focus people should be focusing on is, rather than just hoping that Donald Trump is going to somehow get magically impeached, you should be focusing on the Senate. Honestly, if you're going to waste your energy hoping that he gets impeached, you might as well waste your energy hoping that, his arteries are going to get too blocked. He's just not going to be able to continue.
That might be more fruitful hope. It's there.
But there's, Donald Trump is savvy enough, I think, at this point to realize, the Republicans want and need him as much as he needs them, if not more so.
No kidding. And on a far less important note, but it's worth, anytime, if you care to do this, if you're so inclined, anytime you see someone on CNN or anywhere else actually saying, he can't actually do that, can he? I don't know. Maybe send them a tweet and say, yeah, I think he would do that.
Of course.
The notion that is still even a semi-plausible
do you remember
thing
when it
to
was
say.
Such a big controversy that this guy may not divest himself of his holdings when he becomes president? The idea that he could do it, that's just beyond the pale. Nobody even talks about it anymore.
And the fact, and that there still is even this sort of he couldn't possibly cross that line is
right. Of course,
it's dangerous, destructive.
Yep. Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos